Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's Bring Your Own Project Live. My name is Brittany Lewis, and I'm a professional illustrator and graphic designer. And generally, Sundays is the day that I work on my dream project, the Cosmic Gateways Tarot. But these past couple of Sundays, we've taken a little bit of a detour to work on something else and finish up a book cover design. So before we get into completing it, because I only have one aspect of it to do, before we get into that, please do me a huge favor if you like live creation videos. If you would like to support me in any way, shape, or form, the quickest, easiest, and funnest and freest way, I guess, to do it is to hit the like button. That helps me out so much. That helps push this video out to more people. Hey Tia lady, I'm so happy to see you. Come on now. That helps me push this video out to so many more people so that they can join in and watch as well. Other ways that you can support me, there are going to be some links down in the description for how you can get a piece of art for yourself, as well as hire me if you think that you have a project that I would be a good fit for. So without further ado, let's get right back into it. So we're actually picking back up with this book cover design that we started, I want to say the week before, maybe it was last week or the week before last or so. And in this book cover design, we worked on our main character, and I think I left off on her headphones, and when it came back on Wednesday, I actually finished that up, and I have one last thing to do. Now, spoiler alert, I actually went ahead and did all the graphic design for this particular project, and some things have changed. Now, typically when I am designing a book cover, I will do the graphic design along with the sketch, so that if I'm sending it out to a client, they know exactly what to expect, so they're not getting like just the illustration part, but they can see how the words and things are laid out. And I'll give you a great example. So for those of you who are, I'm gonna see if I can zoom into this, because I know a lot of us watch this on the phone, but I'll show you an example of what this looks like. So this is a book cover, or the front of a book cover that I designed a few years ago, and in it, of course, there was some illustrative aspects to it, as well as some design and photo manipulation to the final product. But when it was time for me to send the sketch to my client, this is what she received. So she got an idea of where the flowers would be placed, how the silhouettes would look, how the shapes and the fonts and all of the words and all of the things looked before I went through with the rendering process. But because we started this one on sort of a whim, I kind of woke up with an idea in my mind. I had somewhat of an idea of what I wanted the graphic design to look like on this particular page, but when I actually went in to do the design itself, it did change and evolve, and that's okay. We want to make sure that I keep things loose enough, especially for this kind of project, loose enough so that I can have happy accidents and things can kind of work out the way that the way that they should. So just to give you an idea of what it was supposed to look like, I started this thumbnail, and I had the idea of having the main character, and I'm gonna zoom all the way in so you guys can see the beginnings of this, because I did this during a Bring Your Own Project Live, and I'll bring you into what we're doing now. So this is where we were working from. This is the thumbnail. So I had the idea of having our main character in the corner, in the word sort of wrapping around, in the author's name either at the bottom or within her sleeve area. So when I went to render the sleeve, I didn't add a whole bunch of details, because I wanted it to give room and wouldn't be too busy once I added the author's name in. I wanted to have the moth, and I also wanted to have some hand-drawn stars. Now, as it evolved, I'll show you guys here. I'm going to open up. I usually do my design work in Affinity 2. I do have Affinity 3, which is free for everyone. So if you're wanting to get into a cost-effective way of learning graphic design, and you don't necessarily want to sign up for like the contract that comes with Adobe, Affinity is a solid option. I've been working with them for a very long time. I want to say since 2020 at this point. So I do have the new version of Affinity that is free, but this one I am working in Affinity 2, which was something I paid for, right? All right, so now as I got into playing around with the design aspect of this book cover, things changed, because I was not able to lay out the lettering the way that I had envisioned, and the way that I had the illustration set up. So I changed some things around. Now I really like how this came together. So that means that the only thing I have left to do is my moth. Now I like that the moth doesn't have a whole lot of details at the bottom, but it does give manta ray. We don't want it to look like a manta ray, but this is the design as it is now. So imagine the front of the book is written by Ella Coleman, and the title is Under the Pisces Moon. This is a novel. We have our main character that we worked on together, and then on the back side we have some dummy text for right now, but the author will be able to insert their blurb there, and then we have the illustrated mouth, right? So to me it looks great. I'm super happy with it. I meant to. It was one of those things where, like, I know I need to record content just to kind of share the process a little more publicly and just sort of in a public forum. But a lot of times when I'm sitting down to work, I'm not thinking about recording, right? In that case, I wasn't even finished with the illustration. I just kind of wanted to see how it would look once I put the words in, because I didn't set my sketch up that way. Now, since I didn't set my sketch up that way, I was like, okay, let me just play around with it. And playing around with it became like the actual finished thing. And by the end of it, I was like, man, I should have recorded this, but I didn't. So it is what it is. But we're going to go ahead and record together, or work on together, the final element to this puzzle. And now, actually, when I get ready to export this again, because I'll need to export it again because I did make some minor tweaks to the cityscape as well, I'll probably do that as individual aspects as opposed to a full sort of layout. And I'll give you a good idea of what this generally, when I know exactly what I'm doing, what this will look like. Now, remember our divine feminine divine feminine essence sketch that we have in our reference. This is the file that I did or created for the flowers of this cover. So I did everything else in Affinity, so because I needed them to be just very clean and clear shapes, so I did those as vector images as opposed to the raster, which are the flowers. But I did render out all the flowers. Now this represents the exact same thing that we just showed with Under the Pisces Moon. This is the entire book cover. So this is the illustrative part of it. So this is pretty much what we're working on with this one. However, because I already laid out all the graphic design in this book cover, I knew exactly where to place all the flowers. So I didn't really have to do a whole lot of tweaking at all. It was just going in, putting things where they needed to be, and then moving into Affinity to finish up the graphic design aspect of it. So that is what that typically looks like. Now, because again, we're not designing this for anyone in particular, the process is slightly different. Moving forward, though, as I do more of these illustrated covers, I will definitely take the time to put the graphic design in so that I'm drawing around it. That's super important when you're designing book covers. Now, some people are not going to be able to do the design in the illustration. So if you are trying to hire someone for a book cover design, all graphic designers are not illustrators, and all illustrators are not graphic designers. Sometimes you'll find someone like myself who does both. In that, if you're hiring someone who doesn't do both, they have to be very cognizant of where the wording will go. So oftentimes it's probably best to get the graphic design portion of it done and then send it off to an illustrator so they'll know where to place all of the elements. That's generally how I work. I'll do it all at the same time when I'm sketching, but it didn't work out this way, and that's okay. That's perfectly okay. So now again, now I'm gonna show you one more time. No, maybe I shouldn't. I'll show you later. We'll show you later. But now, as I was looking at the way that it looked in the mock-up or sort of in the design file of it, my mouth looked nice. I had a really cool paper texture. It looked cool, but because it didn't have antennas, it was definitely giving stingray. So I definitely don't want to do that. So we're going to go ahead and render this out, and this is going to have a lot more detail than like the earrings that our character is wearing. So I'll show you what that looks like really quickly. It looks a lot. There's going to be a lot more detail. This is also going to be on the back cover. So these are the earrings that our character is wearing. I did dumb down the rendering of this because I did not want it to compete with the actual mouth on the back. So that is why they look very much simplified, but we're going to give this one a little more attention to detail and go from there. So I hope you guys are having a great week. I hope that y'all have had a productive week. My birthday is Tuesday, so I have a birthday coming up on Tuesday. I've already started celebrating early. My mom did like the sweetest thing in the world. She sent me this huge photo album of all of these pictures of me from like birth to maybe 12th grade or so, and it was surreal to see because I have not seen a lot of those pictures probably since I took them, and it was interesting because I was always under the notion that I didn't have a whole lot of pictures of myself like as a younger person. So to see myself during that time in my life was really nice. It was really cool to show my son, and I was able to show him one. I was making a face, and I looked at my son, and I looked at the picture, and I looked at my son. I was like, this boy looks just like his mom. That was really, really nice. So we're celebrating early. So it is Tuesday, but we'll be back here Wednesday for our Bring Your Own Project live stream. Now, I have been procrastinating a little bit of getting the 5 of Pentacles together, but I finally have an idea. I finally have a little bit of direction that I would like to go in with that particular card. Now again, Sundays is usually the day that we'll work on that, but I did not have the sketch ready, and because there's a little bit of lag when I talk and stream and draw. So because we're at the very beginning of creating that particular card, I didn't necessarily want to fight the lag and talk and draw at the same time while I get that together. However, on Wednesday, I will fight because I don't have to talk as much. So we're going to draw and create the 5 of Pentacles for the Cosmic Gateways Tarot. So that one I'm really excited about. I actually went through the process that I go through with all of the cards for the Cosmic Gateways Tarot deck. What I will do is, once I have an understanding of the meanings of the cards, if I don't already have like a word or phrase that I naturally associate with that card, what I'll do is try to figure out what that may be in real life. So for instance, the 5 of Pentacles deals with like financial struggle. It typically depicts a cathedral window where it has 5 pentacles as the stained glass, and then you have one injured person and another one who is in rags kind of walking by this cathedral window. The idea is that the wealth is within the building, the warmth is within that building, but they don't have access to it, or at least they're not presented with the door to get into that particular space. Now with it, I decided to figure out, what does it feel like to have to struggle, right? What does that feel like? And the first thing that came to mind, after some time, of course, because it's been a minute since we've worked on those cards, but I kind of came up with the idea of drowning, because oftentimes when we're struggling in whatever we're struggling in, it can feel like you're drowning. So that is going to be the idea that we play up for the 5 of Pentacles. I'm really excited about that. I'm really excited to see what I come up with, in terms of like how I depict that specific drowning. I have a couple of ideas. I did gather up some references here recently for it, so it's gonna be soon. So we'll be wrapping up the 5 of Pentacles, or starting to draw that on Wednesday, and then as we do that, we'll go back to doubling up the cards. So we'll pick up on the 6s so that we can get this thing back moving. So even if it's little progress, small progress, I'm super happy to be making some kind of progress as we as we move forward in the Cosmic Gateways Tarot. And I'm also happy to have these kinds of projects to be able to share with you, and share with you other aspects of what I do in my design and illustrative practice. So I love being able to combine the two. Usually, or in years past, people would hire me typically for logos. I've done so many goddamn logos. So many of them, and I have a sort of a love, I don't want to say a love-hate relationship with it, but I have sort of like a love-hate relationship with logos, until recently, when I kind of started to enjoy it again. And that was probably because the switch up in clients and things like that, and sort of a little bit of creative freedom and responsibility when it comes to those. But I don't typically enjoy creating logos at all. However, when I am doing that, sometimes I get really cool illustrative types of logo marks that I get to create. So they're not just type. I get to kind of create mascots and things like that, and that's always a lot of fun to do. The creation is always fun, right? I think like most artists, I don't really enjoy the sort of the revision process of creating, but I think that being able to, anytime I'm able to combine graphic design and illustration, for me is a good time. Now I've went over a little bit of my sort of creative background and how I got into graphic design. It was definitely something I was sort of encouraged heavily to do, right? I didn't necessarily know what it was or what it meant, all the while doing it and not knowing that that's exactly what I was doing was called. And so in that, even though it wasn't necessarily my first passion, I don't see it as a passion even now. I do enjoy it, but I don't see it as something that I'm super passionate about. I am very, very happy and grateful for the skill, all right? super happy and grateful for the skill to be able to design and sort of know how to create clean designs along with my illustrations, because that comes in handy when I am designing book covers, right? So that comes in handy. It's not just drawing, it is not just putting words on the page. You want to pay attention to the emphasis of certain things and how certain things are laid out and go from there. So I'm very, very happy for the skill. Definitely, for sure. Even in an age where like AI is a thing and people are sort of making these grotesque AI flyers, you know what I mean? All of that. Even in all of that, I still am very happy for the sort of the skill and the know-how. So what I'm doing now is just kind of following my reference. I do have a reference of a Luna moth. That is what this is, and we're just going to draw as best we can. I don't necessarily have to have this super photorealistic. I want it to be, have some brush strokes and things like that. I want it to feel loose and somewhat free as we sort of make our way through this, because again, this is the last aspect, and this part of the illustration is actually going to be on the back of the cover, right? So this is going to go on the back of the cover. So I get a little bit of leeway, and as we move our way through. So one other interesting thing that my mom sent me for my birthday, I got a chance to see one of my old sketchbooks from 2004. Right? And not long ago, I talked to you guys about someone asking me about when did I know I had a talent for drawing. And I still, to this day, don't see it as a talent. And looking through that sketchbook to me was a testament to that. I don't feel like me being able to draw and create images is a talent so much as it is a skill that I just did not stop developing, right? It is certainly a passion. It is certainly something that I enjoy doing, that I am thankful to be able to do and have the time and the resources and the energy to continue to learn to do. But I do not see it as a talent, right? So much as just never stop developing the skill for it. Even in those days where like I had critiques, in college you go through the critiquing process where you pretty much are ripped to shreds for the most part, you know what I mean? Under the guise of sort of giving you feedback on your designs and things like that. Even going through that, even sort of being in spaces where I was the only African American in my class, which was what I experienced in my first college, and also feeling quite bullied a lot of the times because I looked younger than I was, having gone through a whole lot, right? Having gone through a whole lot with my art, right? I just never really stopped developing it. I never really got tired of drawing. And so being able to see all of that, being able to see those old drawings and things that, it's real interesting to see how far I've come in my artistic journey. So if you're starting new, especially today, okay, because I know a lot of it can be discouraging with AI and feeling like maybe you shouldn't, especially in digital art, maybe you shouldn't learn digital art because, whatever, right? I feel like just so long as you are patient with yourself, so long as you don't stop, it'll be a skill that you can continue to develop. That is one of the things that I don't really understand about the argument for AI. I see a lot of people a lot of the AI bros, I will say, that'll say, well, people are gatekeeping art, and now we can just put our ideas in and this, that, and the third to get it. But I don't think learning art is gatekept at all. I think that most artists are very happy to see other people learn the craft, just like anything else. Just like people who speak foreign languages, they're always excited to see someone trying and attempting to understand what it is that they do, because with that comes a greater appreciation for it. So to me, anytime I can kind of see someone, even in today, right, learning digital art, to me that is a win for the art. Learning regular traditional art, that's good too. Just don't give up and don't feel like you don't have a place because this new technology exists. I feel like there's always going to be a place for human artists, and it is going to be very much a superpower in my humble opinion. So what I'm doing now is just kind of adding details. Again, I'm not reaching for perfection necessarily. I just kind of want to make sure that I have all the beats hit, so they have this really neat like fuchsia detailing on it. And speaking of moths, yesterday, now fun fact, I'm scared of okay, I'll be real honest with you. Butterflies, I like looking at them. I do not like being in their presence. I'm not a fan of flying insects in any way, shape, or form. But I'm also a gardener, so I know that's quite ironic to be someone who is always in the garden, always outside, but also afraid of the things that live outside. That is my reality. Right? So yesterday I was in my garden and I was picking. I gotta go out there and pick stuff today too. I was picking peppers and because I was going to make hot sauce. I made some hot sauce recently, so I was making hot sauce from the peppers that I made. So I'm outside and I'm like, there's this huge, I'm talking about like the size of my hand. It was a swallowtail butterfly, beautiful, and like it was. I'm talking to it because that's what I do, right? They're talking to the creatures. I'm like, oh, you're so beautiful. Oh, you're so nice and beautiful. Thank you so much for pollinating my garden and making things grow and all this. And I'm talking and I'm like, and it starts flying at me. And I'm like, oh man. Like, all right, friend, I'm scared. Like, go about your day now. I'm scared. We could be friends, but you ain't got to come talk to me. That kind of thing. That's how I was approaching it. And I'm thinking, oh man, I must be vibrating so high. I'm out here with this sparrow and this swallowtail butterfly. It's so beautiful. It just keeps coming at me, trying to be my friend, right? And I go in and my son's like, well, it's because you got on an orange shirt. And I'm looking because I took a bunch of pictures. And the thing I have some marigolds outside to keep the caterpillars and things like that at bay, the harmful pests. And so I looked and the butterflies landed on all the orange things. I was like, you could have left me in my delusion, but it'd be your own kids, man. I swear to goodness. But that was one experience that I had recently with some butterflies. I believe they're beautiful. This is a moth. He's beautiful. She's beautiful. But I do not like being in their presence. Right? So even having this, I'm freaked out by them. Even having this reference image, I had to kind of go over my own like fears and things like that just to pull it up. I had to pull up the least offensive to me or like least gross looking picture of this moth. Now she is pretty again. She's green. She got all these beautiful like fuchsia colors and things like that within her wings and all of that. Right? But I do not, oh my gosh, I don't like them at all. The irony also is that I got to choose what it was that I drew in this. I don't know. I thought this would be a great fit for this particular card, so that's what we went with. So I am adding just the details and things like that. Again, this is going to be on a book, so it doesn't have to be super duper detailed. And there's also going to be a paper texture laid over top of it, so we don't have to give it a whole lot of attention or anything like that to make it like expressly like photorealistic or anything. I just want to make sure that it has just enough information so that when I pull it over into my graphic design file, that it is exactly what we want it to be. Now what I'll do to ensure that really quickly is I'm going to turn off the sketch as soon as I get this blended in. Thank you so much, TN Lady says it's pretty. I'm going to get the sketch turned off, and then I'm going to see what we're looking like, and if I'm happy with it, then we'll continue. If not, we'll make the changes where they're needed, and then we'll keep going. Like I said, all of this is we're not reaching for perfection by any means, right? So you have to take yourself a lot less seriously when you're doing your artwork, even in the times where it's not coming together the way that you think it should. Just kind of keep going, just kind of keep playing around with it, having fun with it, because if it just work, then to me it's just not worth doing. If it feels like a chore, then just kind of leave it behind. But one of the things that I have been enjoying lately is just relaxing into it, right? It doesn't again have to be perfect, because when I started this particular design, I don't know that I recorded. I know the Clip Studio records it, but I don't think I did it live. But I was actually in the middle of like painting the face of this character, right? As a matter of fact, let me see if it'll play. Now, when I started painting this character, because I'm going by a limited color palette, it was not looking good. And this is not the first face I've painted. It won't be the last face I've painted. I've painted lots and lots of faces. So this is going to give us, I'm going to shorten this by about 30 seconds so we can kind of see a little bit about how this went about. So once I started rendering out the colors and things like that, it was too bright. It wasn't working well. It just did not look good. It was weird. And then I just got to a point where it was like, okay, maybe just slow down, blocking the colors. And of course, let me see if I can get it so you guys can see that aspect of it, because I was like, you know what, it's not looking the way that I want it to look, but I just kept at it, right? Just kept at it. So it's not showing, but just trust me when I tell you it wasn't coming together the way I wanted it to come together. So it was like, okay, cool. Let me just relax. This is not for anyone in particular. This is a personal project. This is something that, if all else fails, would be a nice addition to my portfolio. It's, it's not that big of a deal, right? And that's something that I was kind of forced to accept once I did the painting for the museum. And once I did that one, because I was under such a tight deadline, it made me make decisions faster, right? I didn't have time to overthink it. I did not have the luxury of saying, oh gosh, well, the placement of this isn't the way that it needs to be, and going through all these things, right? And that's something I've carried over into everything I've done since then. I've done quite a lot this year, so I'm really, really proud of that. But that idea of just being okay with the process. Art is generally about the process, right? We enjoy the end result of it when we're viewing art, when we're sort of consuming movies and music and all that. We get to enjoy the final product. But the making of the art is where the magic happens, right? Because not only are you learning about yourself as you're making it, but you're learning about the process. You're learning about the person that you're trying to capture, the object that you're trying to capture. To me, the beauty of art is in the process. So again, for those of you who are learning art in the age of AI for the first time, I don't care how old you are, I say bravo to you, because there's so much more to it than creating pretty pictures, especially once you get into the realm of sort of purposefully expressing yourself through the things that you're creating. That to me is where the magic begins. So anytime I'm sort of like I'm doing this Luna moth and I'm scared of moths. Right? I'm doing this is kind of pushing me a little bit beyond my comfort zone, but it is challenging me to create something that I wouldn't normally draw, right? Would not normally give a whole lot of attention to. But it's a lot of fun. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to stand this upright. Now we have the sketch on. I'm going to turn off the sketch just to kind of see what everything is looking like, and then from here we'll kind of see what needs to be done. So it's looking okay. So now we need to pay a little bit more attention to the veins and leaves and things like that. So again, I hope y'all are doing all right. Right? Hope y'all had a pretty decent week this week, and if not, I hope that moving forward it gets better for you. I know that life has been lifing for a lot of people, you know what I mean? So you're not alone in that. And I'm super happy to have you here, whether you're watching this live or the replay, just to hear me talking 90 miles an hour before this 40th birthday of mine that I'm super excited about. Super excited about it. I don't know why. I'm just, I guess I know some people I've seen sort of balk at turning 40, or like they get nervous about turning 40. I remember I was I used to work out a lot, and I was with my trainer when he was turning 40, and like I think his body started falling apart. He was having phantom aches and pains and things like that, and I was like, man, I don't know. I just try to take care of myself as best as I can before we get there. But I'm definitely looking forward to it. I feel like my 20s and 30s were all about learning and kind of bumping my head, and that's okay, right? Want to learn and go through that part. Your 30s, you're sort of learning from the mistakes that you made in your 20s, and I feel like 40 will allow me to sort of live and just enjoy, right? Because I'm at the point in my life where some of the things that matter to me don't matter as much anymore. It just doesn't matter. Some of the things that I would worry about isn't really, I find, not worth worrying about. Some of the things that I would concern myself with, especially when it comes to the opinions of people who may not know me, right? Or who may know me from when I was a kid, or like in high school and things like that. Because sometimes we can hold ourselves back because we're afraid of what the people we grew up with will think about us, right? How they'll judge us. A lot more often than not, those people aren't doing anything. Right? They ain't doing nothing either. So definitely aren't going to let those opinions kind of stop us from moving forward and how we live, or dictate to us how we live our lives. I don't want to do that, right? I don't want to continue to live in fear. I know that fear is a thing that we all navigate, right? We'll all have to sort of navigate and make peace with. But I don't want to let that be sort of determining factor of how I move forward in my life. So, age 40, we come in chapter 4. I'm excited about it. Excited to see what the next 40 to 50 years are going to be like. I'm hoping to enjoy life a lot more as I sort of, move forward, right? So, hope that you all have been enjoying these Paint With Me lives. This is episode, I think, 86 or something like that. So, we've been doing these for a while. We've made our 2-year mark. So, we've been streaming. I've been streaming for about 2 years. So, if you've been here with me from the beginning, oh man, thank you so much. If you're just joining me, thank you so much. I'm really happy to have you here. So it's been pretty good, been pretty interesting. This year again has definitely been one where a lot more has happened in the most positive ways, right? I've learned a lot more this year. I have created a lot more. I've met more people, more like-minded individuals that I'm super happy and excited to be around. So I hope that you all are taking advantage of the people around you, right? Not taking advantage of them, but like taking advantage of, learning from and just being in their presence and growing with those people. All right. So I'm just adding some details. Again, I don't know exactly what I'm doing. Right. I just kind of, the smudge brush in this instance is going to be my friend because it's going to give me those like stripy kind of feathery details. And so we're just going to go back and forth until this starts to look good or until I get tired, and then we'll wrap it up and call it a live stream, right? So I hope that, again, y'all are doing all right. So now with the Cosmic Gateways Tarot. So again, Wednesday, I'll be here drawing and creating the 5 of Pentacles. So that will be card number 46. And then we'll start with the 6s simultaneously, because anytime I can work on them together, right, they tend to come by a lot faster. However, I'm also having to like balance out my time and that kind of thing so that I can get other things done. So I would love to know how you guys are enjoying seeing like these extra types of projects that's not connected to the Cosmic Gateways Tarot. Y'all good with that? I do have a painting to do. You know what I mean? Got all kinds of stuff. As a matter of fact, behind me typically there is the Hermit from the Cosmic Gateways Tarot. I usually have the Hermit canvas print there, and then on the other side of the Hermit there's the Lovers, but they're gone. So they're going to be in a show at the Germantown Community Theater summer art show, and it'll be there until August 10th, I think, unless someone buys them, which I'm looking forward to have happen for sure. That's happening now. So a lot of really, really good things and really, really great opportunities have been coming up this year where they have not in the past. So I want to make sure that I am taking advantage of those things, enjoying the process of having that happen, right? And then moving forward. So now I am working with a chalk brush, and I'm just kind of adding in some of these shadows and things like that. Hey, thank you, TN Lady. TN Lady says congratulations. I sure appreciate that. Yeah, that's my second art show this year, and it's crazy because it was one of them things that I signed up for on a whim, and I was like, I don't remember like the split, like, because typically when you sell in an art show and a gallery show or something like that, if you sell, the host takes a commission. In gallery spaces, it's typically 50-50. So if I were to do like an exhibition at one of the downtown galleries or something like that, they'll take 50% of the proceeds. That's generally how it goes. In this case, it was like 70-30. Hell, I had to ask the lady. I was like, I know I sound real unprofessional, but I don't remember the details of it. And it was one of those things where they had like the Google form, and whenever I do Google Forms, I always send a copy to the person that applied to it. So when I was working with the guild, if I was in charge of something that used a Google form, whatever they did, I would send them a copy of it just so they have it for their records. But this show didn't do that. So I had forgotten about it. I had forgot about it. And I had forgotten like what the splits were and like what the opening date was and like all of the things. But I was super duper happy, and it's not too far from where I live, so like drop off and pick up isn't going to be laborious, right? Matter of fact, it's like right across the street from my gym, so that helps helps out a whole lot. So I'm generally in that area anyway, but I'm really excited about it, just to be in the presence again of other artists. It's going to be really, really nice. So yeah, it's been a real nice year, especially following last year. I think was probably one of the worst in terms of like rejections, and rejections is just part of being an artist and part of working in a creative field. They happen, right? And I think in college, going through those critiques helps sort of get you prepared for rejection. That's just what it is, right? And so with that, I know last year I was signing up for a lot of local events. Prior to that, I would never have an issue going to local events. I could get into whatever art show because I've done so many of it. People sort of start to know your name, they start to know your art. Last year I couldn't get into nothing. I don't know what the heck was going on. Not only that, but I was also like applying for jobs as well because I was having a really tough time economically in my art business. Just things were changing and changing rapidly until I sort of found my footing. And so in that, going through looking for work just to supplement the business and looking for shows just to be able to show the work that I've already created and be in those spaces, and getting rejected left and right. I'm talking about everything was just falling through, right? It can be very nerve-wracking. It can definitely be very it can be have a damper on your like confidence and things like that after a while. But then it was like, okay, well, I'm sitting on a skill. Let me go ahead and maximize this skill and figure out where I can sort of fit in, and also just try for stuff. And even with all the rejections and all that, let me just keep trying for things. So again, the first event was using our art to tell our story, which was at the Withers Museum. So that was the first exhibition, and again, that one just kind of fell in my lap. So I appreciate Mr. Phillips and Dr. Hurd for allowing me to participate in that. That was so awesome. And so after that, I was like, okay, cool. So now that I've gone through my first one, let me see if I can come across some others. And because I'm in newsletters for local organizations and have gone to workshops and just met people, I was getting a lot more opportunities come just out of nowhere in my email, and then I would just go for them. And it was like, okay, no pressure. If it happens, it happens. I been through all the rejections. So it's like shit. If it, excuse my language, but if it, it is what it is. Either they gonna say yes or no. And so this year, thankfully, I've gotten a lot more yeses than nos, and so I've been taking full advantage of those. Now, some of the events that I wanted to participate in would have required me to make more new art, and I just have not had the time as of late to do that. But as they come up and as I have art available to do that, I'll apply. You know what I mean? I sure will. There's a residency here that I've applied for once. I got rejected for it. That was a few years ago, that I wanted to do again, but they've made the application process a little more rigorous. And so I was like, okay, cool. I'm not particularly ready for this year, but now that I know what they're looking for, in addition to what I was already prepared to submit, then I can go ahead and gather things up and get ready for that. So I'll apply for that, just to be able to again go with my right mind, doing things just to see what would happen, which I consider doing it for the plot. You know what I mean? Just doing it to see what would happen, whether I am rejected or not, just kind of out of my own curiosity. That's sort of how I've been navigating this year, and it has been working out really nicely. Also, I think just kind of making peace with the way that things were. You know what I mean? Where I'm at, like, okay, cool, this is where we at now. This is where we have to work from. These are the mistakes that have been made in the past, and this is where we are today. So let me just sort of continue to move forward and do my best and go with the highest excitement. There's been something else that I've leaned into this year. Doing the thing that feels the most exciting in the moment, right? If something doesn't feel right, for instance, I keep going back to this dang old museum, but at the time that right before I had learned about the Withers Museum, using our art to tell our stories, I had just been invited to participate in an event here locally, and for whatever reason in my mind, I was like, I really don't want to do the first one, right? So I signed up for it because they had an option to be notified for future events. Like to say, yes, I want to do the first one, or no, I want to do future events. So the idea was that I was going to just go and check it out, and then if they did future events, then I could say, okay, I feel like I'm a good fit for this space, or no, I don't think I'm a good fit, but I just did not want to do that first one. So I had signed up for it under the guise of this is just going to be to sign up just to put my name on whatever list they had to notify people of their future events. But there was something sort of nagging at me to say no. So after the application, maybe a week or so after I had applied for it, the person who organized it emailed me and was like, well, we're sorry, we won't be able to have you for this first event. And I know for sure that I said that I didn't want to do that. Right. So for one, people make mistakes, so you have to kind of give them grace, but either you ain't paying no attention to your own application, or this is further a sign for me to say no, because it was just nagging me not to. Now, that was coming off the tails of being rejected by a lot of things. Right? So being rejected out of a lot of things, and then here's this opportunity. And so as a part of not being able to teach, I think it was like a speaking thing. So instead of being able to speak, they offered me an opportunity to table. I already had stuff to table, right? I already had, because everything on my website except the canvas prints, I have in stock. So I usually just take those things with me to events, and then I update my inventory as I move forward. So tabling wasn't gonna be no problem. I could just show up and sit there for a couple of hours, sell a few things, and then come on home. But for whatever reason, it was just nagging me not to, right? It wasn't a fear thing. It wasn't sort of, sometimes I can say no to something just because I'm afraid of, not knowing what's going to happen. It wasn't that. It was just something that was like, no, don't do this. Right? So I listened to it, and that was like, it was kind of interesting because, again, it's coming off the heels of a lot of rejection. So here's an opportunity to table after being rejected for all of these other art shows across the city and in local, places within my region, right? Here's this opportunity to table, but I had decided early on that I didn't want to participate, but they're telling me that I should, and goodness, I don't want them to depend on me, and you start going through all this stuff, right? And so eventually was like, okay, this don't feel right, so let me just tell them no, thank you, I appreciate it, but I'll look forward to whatever you got coming up next. And so went on about my day. I think I went to the gym that day, worked out, and then as I was coming home, I got a call, and then I got a voicemail from that call, and then I listened to the voicemail, and I was like, okay, cool. So it was Dr. Hurd calling, and she was, yeah, I got your number from such and such and so, we got this event, give me a call back. So I called her back, and then so it was like phone tag. Eventually talked to her, and that felt more exciting to me than the previous event that I had just turned down. And it was within, like, I think I was at the gym for like an hour and a half. So I turned it down, went to the gym, worked out for like an hour and a half, and then was driving home, and immediately another opportunity showed up. So going with your highest excitement, going with the thing that feels the most exciting, and if it doesn't feel right, you don't have to do it. You just don't have to, right? So for me, that didn't feel right. The first event didn't feel right, and I turned it down. As difficult as that was, I turned it down. I was like, well, I don't know what's gonna come, but let me go to the gym. You know what I mean? Went to the gym, worked out, and then the very next opportunity came up. And so that, again, felt much more exciting. That felt more aligned, even though in my mind, initially I was thinking, well, I don't have the art to go with the theme, because the theme was faith, and in my mind it dealt more with religion. I'm not a religious person, so I didn't think that my art fit that space, right? But the more that I talked to Dr. Hurd, and the more that I sort of listened to the story that she was telling and the research that they had done, I was like, oh snap, okay, like ideas was flickering. Right? So that highest excitement showed up, and in 2 weeks, I think less than 2 weeks, I had the painting done, right? 24 by 36 inch painting, the largest painting I had worked on in years. I had got it completed, and it worked out really well. And then when I went to the actual event, right, the opening, and they had my painting hung up, because I only submitted one because I only had time to make one. Right, submitted one, and as I'm sort of walking down this corridor where they had all the art hanging, where I wasn't sure that at first whether or not my voice would make sense in the space based on the theme of this event, everything told the same story. So it went from the battle of Fort Pillow into Afrofuturism and abstract art, and then there was my art, and then there was more futurism. So it all fit, and it all told the same story, and none of us knew what the other artists were going to bring, but it all kind of came together. And that was something that Dr. Hurd told me on the phone. I was like, okay, it is what it is. I'll try. I ain't gonna make no promises. Now again, because that one was such a short and sharp deadline, I didn't have time to overthink it. I didn't have time to sort of procrastinate or talk myself out of it. It was, let me make this decision. Let me make it quickly. Let me put the paint on canvas. Let me do these things. I'm going to try this out. If it don't work, then we're going to move forward. If I don't get it done in time, it just is what it is. I'm going to try my best, right? So I literally did that just to see if I could, right? Because it felt like the most exciting thing. And then something else came up. So I had the library thing, same thing, that felt like the most exciting thing at that time. And other opportunities have come up, and they haven't felt as exciting. So those things I don't necessarily give a whole lot of time and energy to. And then something else will come up, and it'll feel like, oh wow, that sounds like a good opportunity to let me try it. Like the event at the community theater. Sure, I'll do it. I got the art already. Matches the theme, you know what I mean? Just sitting here collecting dust. So it's like, okay, cool, I'll try it, and did. And so that felt like the most exciting thing. So working on this book cover and having the ideas to come up with these covers so that my clients can have access to professional grade covers and interiors for their novels and their nonfiction books, to me feels like the most exciting thing to do. So that is a practice that I have been deliberately doing this year. Now I still have moments and bouts of sort of anxiety and nerves and second guessing and self-doubt and all of that. I don't think any of that ever just fully goes away, but you do learn to navigate it a lot better. So I've learned to navigate it a lot better, and when I can't find the most exciting, right? So when the situation is to the point where none of this feels good, you know what I mean? The best thing that I have found is just to kind of sit still, right? Sometimes just don't force anything to happen. Just kind of sit still through it, and then maybe the highest excitement is let me sit down, right? Maybe the highest excitement is let me go fold some clothes because it needs to be done. Or let me go do a load of laundry. And it may not be these huge momentous events, but they're just these small moments that feel better than whatever that negative feeling is, right? Whether it is the anxiety, whether that is depression, whatever the thing is, nerves, fear, all of that. Just kind of find that small moment in your thoughts, in your lives, in sort of the things that you're doing day to day that feel the best, right? Again, this ain't gotta be these huge like accomplishments. Again, sometimes it could just be like, let me sit down, right? Or let me go to the grocery store, or let me go clean out the car, or whatever the case is. So that is something I think I picked that up from Bashar. He's a guy, and I don't know the man's name. So Bashar is the story of Bashar is there's a man, I think his name's Daryl. Daryl channels this being named Bashar. Bashar gives all of these really cool sort of insights. Whether he's really channeling or not, I don't know. But the information is good, and that is one that I have been deliberately practicing, going with the highest excitement. And again, it's not always sunshine and roses, because things become, life happens, lives, things happen, plans don't always go accordingly, and all of that. You have all these things that will come up, and there's always going to be things to take care of. But anytime you can kind of lean into just that moment that feels the best, I think that makes all the difference in the world, and it does help balance some of that out. All right, so what I'm doing is adding in the antennas to our Luna moth. And again, I'm not going for perfection here. I do like, and I'll show you again before we go, what the actual design of this, like with the fonts and all of that, looks like, so that you guys can have an idea of where I'm going. Now, I do have this currently laid out in Clip Studio Paint, and it is slightly different in my design program, because once I started to add like the font and rearrange the words and all that, I just need to move things around. Right, so I did that. All right, so what I'm going to do is, because I do want to have a little bit of contrast in her antennas, we're going to call her a her. In her antennas, we're going to add just a slightly darker tone here. I'm going to turn off my sketch to make sure this looks good. And this is probably going to look rough, and that's okay. That's okay. It don't look too bad, but we'll add like these little wisps of details, and all of this again is going to be covered in a paper texture. So some of the details that we don't like is going to be covered up, and it'll look real good once we're done. So yeah, that's life lately. Right, I'm getting ready for this birthday of mine coming up. Now, I don't know yet what we got planned. I'm letting the fellas handle that. Right, I'm just gonna sit back and enjoy myself and enjoy my time. But I do know that once things sort of level out here in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to take you guys on a photo walk with me so that we can gather up some references. Now, I'm doing this because of the book covers, also because gathering your own references is a great way to have reference for paintings, right? And you can have reference for like logos and whatever else you want to use the photography for. It's really, really cool and neat to gather up your own references. Now, I'm going to be using a professional camera, but you do not have to. I actually have two at my disposal. I have my husband's camera, which is way nicer than mine, and then I have this little T3. This is my first like beginner entry level camera that I bought I want to say 15 years ago, and this thing has absolutely no bells and whistles. It looks good, right? It looks real neat. It's got a nice piece of glass on it. This is not this is for a much more professional camera, but it works nice on my T3, right? So I'm gonna take either this one or the other one out, and I'll show you guys how I practice photography for one, and also how I take those pictures and turn them into something completely different. Now, this helps me out in my design business because if we're getting pictures, now you can license images. You can go to Getty Images and license images, Shutterstock. Pexels is a great place to get images without the licensing. My thinking is that is true, where you can get those images and have them royalty free. You can either pay for the license or like do the Upsplash, or is it Unsplash, Upsplash, one of the two. Go to those sites, right? But the thinking is, if you take your own images, then you own the copyright to those. So if I'm licensing out book covers, for instance, I don't necessarily have to navigate licensing someone else's photography. Now, that is not to say that it won't happen, but I would like to minimize that as much as possible. So doing that myself is going to be super helpful, so I can have my own library of references to pull from, images to tweak and design over or draw over, or whatever the case is. Now, typically what I would do is actually have an intention. So let's say, for instance, we're going to the Botanic Gardens and maybe I want to photograph the Japanese garden. That'll be an intentional sort of photo walk. In this case, the first one we're going to do, I'm just going to go and see what I can do. Right, we're going to go see what kind of shots we can get and go from there. It's not going to be in the golden hour, which is usually right before the sun rises and right before the sun sets. It's going to be broad daylight, right? So very harsh lighting and all of that. So we're going to see what happens. We're going to see what we can come up with and then go from there. So yeah, that's going to be fun. Also, again, I have that self-portrait that is going to be coming up here very soon. I actually just pulled out the stretcher bars for it, and I decided to do a 30 by 40, which is going to be a nice big painting. So I don't know yet if I'm gonna show you how I stretch the canvas. Maybe I'll do it with a smaller canvas, or I don't know, we're gonna see. But I'm gonna take you along the ride for that, just to kind of see how that goes. And that's gonna be my 40th birthday present to myself. Right? And it is going to be a big old self-portrait, and it's not the first one that I've done. I think this is the third one that's being like of some huge size. The other two I never finished. Right? So the first one I did, I want to say, gosh, maybe 2014 or so. And in it, I was standing sort of, I still got the canvas for it. I took it off the stretcher, which is part of the stretcher bars I'm going to be using. But in it, I was standing sort of in the middle, and I was painting like you ever see those movies where like the main character is standing in the middle and then everything kind of rushing by? It was going to look something like that. However, for me in my art, I find that the things that I paint tend to, especially if it's like a personal painting, they tend to come true. And I was like, that feels like such a lonely painting, and I just don't want, I don't want that in my life. I don't want to be lonely. Right? So I never finished it. The second one I did is a picture of, and I got maybe 50-60% done with it, but it is a portrait of me looking up and there's a lotus above me. That one is, I may go back and finish. The only reason I didn't is because at the time I had locks. They were super long and it was taking me a minute to get it done, and then I cut off my hair. Right, so I no longer have locks. So I was like, well, would it be true to me to continue the picture, or should I just like not? I don't know, but at some point maybe I will. But that one I believe was a 24 by 36. But this one I will finish. Right? So this is my third attempt at doing a super huge self-portrait. And I'm gonna get it done, and I'm gonna show you guys the process of it. And again, this is one of those no pressure, very low stakes type of situation, because it's for me, right? And I want to show you like how I work digitally first, to plan a painting digitally and then move it onto canvas, because that's generally how I do it. Why? It is because it is easier for me to make changes on the computer than it is for me to draw something like directly on canvas and change it that way. It is so much easier to just plan it on my computer or on my tablet or whatever I'm drawing on, and then move it to canvas. I find that is what works best for me. Anytime someone hires me to do a painting, that is exactly what I do. Same as I do with this cover design. I'll show you guys real quick again. Same process, right? I'll make my sketch, and then I usually work with a grid. So I'll grid that bad boy up, and then I print it out, and then I transfer that grid to my canvas. Now ideally I would like to have a projector, but I don't have a projector yet. That will mean I just draw it on my tablet and project it onto the canvas, and then just trace what I've already drawn onto the canvas. But for the time being, I do a grid system, and then from there I cover it up with a dark marker, and then I'll paint. Lately I've been using an underpainting, so I'll cover the canvas in like a bright color, generally a orange, like I think it's called Australian Sienna by Matisse is the name of the company that makes this particular color. I'll cover the canvas in Australian Sienna, and then I'll begin to add the details. I don't know yet if I'm going to do it with the same color, but there'll be a little bit of an underpainting, or at least an underwash, and then I'll go from there. So I'll show you that. It's really, really interesting to me anyway. And I have been enjoying working traditionally this year a lot. Like I've really, really been enjoying the process of it so much this year. And I think a lot of that is kind of led by the fact that so many people associate digital work with AI. And I don't know if it's like my subconscious way of separating myself from that a little bit, or like proving my skill. I don't know. And it probably is. Who knows? But I have been enjoying it. So enjoying it has definitely been a happy side effect of that. So yeah, I'm going to show you. I also wanted to show you guys how I practice learning a new skill. So for instance, the photography is one example of that, but I have wanted to, hey Black Z2, I have wanted to tighten up my landscape work. So I'm not super strong with landscapes. I can make do now, don't get me wrong. I can do what I can do with a landscape, but I would love to be able to sort of do it in a way that does not require me to spend a whole bunch of time like on the minute details. And to me, some of the best landscape paintings don't. And they do a very good job of blocking in like areas and all that. So I have been talking about showing you guys how I learned that new skill. It's just that things have been moving so much faster this year than I have anticipated. So we'll get there as well. All of these are great video ideas. But I will say, if there's anything that you guys would like for me to share on this channel, if there's anything that I can teach you about what I do on this channel, please don't hesitate to let me know. Because I would love to know how I can best help and serve you as you move through your artistic journey, even if it's from what I know of the business experience and what I've learned over the years of being a creative and sort of finding my footing in it, especially finding my footing in it in this very fast-paced changing landscape that we find ourselves in now, right? And so how we navigate that and all of that, how do you navigate the space of AI? And I don't want to keep giving it a whole lot of power and credit, but I do feel as though it is important to kind of figure out where you land in that space, right? And so how I've been navigating that myself, if you'd like to learn more about that, I will be happy to share that with you as well. I honestly try not to give it a whole lot of my attention. And that is because a lot of it can be very triggering, especially when we get into those very polarizing points of view when it comes to AI. Because I've spent so much of my time developing the skill of creating and developing digital art skills and traditional art skills and all of that, and to have people say things like artists are gatekeeping when I spent a lifetime learning, right? And I'm continuing to learn, and I want to teach you guys what I have learned, to see that and to have that be the excuse for why it is okay to steal from the people who have created just so that you can create a meme, right? It gets triggering. I ain't gonna lie to you, it do. So I try to stay away from it as much as I possibly can, just for my own peace of mind. But it's been interesting sort of navigating that space and then being compared to it. That has been a crazy roller coaster ride of a trip, right? That has been bananas. But we progress, we move on, we keep moving, we keep creating. One thing that is very important to know is that AI would not exist without artists, and it will not thrive without artists. So, I don't know if that's a consolation or not, but that's where we are with it. So yeah, it's been really, really interesting. And it's also been interesting sort of learning where my specific field, or my main field, which is graphic design, is going with it, right? Now, one thing I'm super proud of is that we're all tired of the AI flyers. real proud of us for speaking up on those, right? But it has just been really interesting to sit back and witness, and again, kind of detach myself a little bit from it, just so I'm not triggered by it, right? Or so that I'm not like overly emotional behind it or anything like that. Yeah, it's been something. I will say it has been something. Just the blatantness, but I will say that people tend not to empathize with things that they're not directly affected by. So there is always going to be people who just don't care, right? They don't care because they're not affected by it, right? It does not affect them, and then once it does, then it becomes, well, now we're all up in arms, and I guess that's natural. That's just kind of how it goes. We live in a world of very just people that just don't care, right? It's always going to be people that don't care as much as you do, or as much as we do about a certain thing. So we have to kind of, protect our own peace. It has been nerve-wracking thinking about sharing some of the art that I've been working on in a public space, which feels counterintuitive because sharing is how I garner business a lot of the times, right? So I have not shared a lot of new art on places like Instagram, or like, all the meta, Facebook and all that. Haven't done a whole lot of sharing of new art on those spaces because it just doesn't feel like a safe thing to do. And I hate that position as well. I hate to feel like if I share it, then I don't know, somebody gonna steal it. I don't know. I hate thinking like that. You know what I mean? I hate thinking like that. But I've seen it happen. It has happened to me. It has happened to me. Not with the art. I've had intellectual property stolen before. It is not a fun experience at all. So it is learning how to share in a way that doesn't feel unsafe. Right? So yeah, we're learning a lot, navigating a lot, figuring out a whole lot, overcoming a whole lot. And if you are feeling sort of the pressure of it, I want to encourage you to keep creating. I want to encourage you to share, but I do certainly understand the fear and sort of the insecurity. I hate to say insecurity because of the connotation of the word, but it does not feel very secure to share, your art that you've spent so much time on online, especially in the digital space. I wholeheartedly understand that. But we must move on, right? We have to figure out some kind of way to do it. So for me, I love being able to do these live streams and show parts of that, just so we could talk about it, so I could share with you guys. If you have questions, I'm happy to answer those as well. But yeah, that's something that I have been, and I hadn't, it wasn't something I cared too much about to think that much about at first. And then I started seeing, other artists experience their art being put through these engines and replicated and all of this, and it's just so nerve-wracking. It is. So I try to avoid the debates as much as I possibly can. I do, just for my own sake, my own peace of mind. I do try to do that. But I do stay on top of it just so that I'm aware of what's going on, aware of how to navigate and change contracts where I need to change my contracts, or, put certain clauses in and all of that. So yeah, it's been interesting in that space. It has certainly been interesting in that space. I do avoid it at all costs. I surely do. And also, I will say this: anytime I see those AI flyers, I don't know why, immediately I think they scamming. I don't know what it is. I think maybe it's because it reminds me of those I don't know if you ever played a game on your phone, or been in an app on your phone, and then you get these obvious scam ads. That's what they remind me of. Right? And I understand that for some people they're using it because it's accessible, or they feel like it's much more accessible. They may not know to hire a graphic designer. They may not have the budget for it's all kinds of reasons for why they're using. Some folks just may not care. Right? That's always going to be part of it. But anytime I see those flyers, I immediately think it's somebody trying to I feel like it's a phishing scam. I'm like, man, they can't be for real, right? for instance, I had my class reunion. I didn't have a class reunion, but they do like a class picnic, and in the picnic, they were advertising it, and they were using the AI flyers to do it, and it just, oh man, it looked so horrible. It was like, oh, I don't know if this is real or if it's, but then you start to see people that like, sharing it or whatever, inviting people out. It's like, oh, okay, it is real, but I immediately in my mind, I go to, they scamming, right? They are trying to take your money and trying to get you to buy something that you don't need and all of that. So that is exactly where my mind goes. All right, so I'm just adding in some details to our to our lotus, to our Luna moth. I still don't know exactly what this looks like just yet. It looks good with the sketch on. The sketch always gives, like, to me, a false positive, because I already have the lines and things like that drawn in, but I have no idea what this looks like without the sketch. So it's going to be important for me to turn it off. It may or may not look good, I don't know. So it looks like we need to add more details and things like that. So for the time being, what I'm going to do is work on this outside of having the, with the sketch off. Now, one of the things that could have saved me some time is if I were working on this with a symmetry ruler, which means that whatever I draw on one side will appear on the other. But I want this to feel like the Luna moth is in flight. So with that, her striations may appear to be slightly different than if she were static or standing still. So I didn't want it to feel super symmetrical or anything like that. I do use a symmetry ruler when I feel like it's necessary, and when I don't mind that hard symmetry, right? But sometimes I just kind of want to have those sort of irregularities in whatever it is that I'm doing. So we're gonna add in things. I'm going to make my brush really tiny because I like how these lines look. I'm going to bring that over here like so. So this looks like these really light veins. And again, I don't know what I'm doing. The closest I've come to drawing a Luna moth has been when I entered a contest many years ago. I want to say about 2016 for Niobe, She Is Life. And it was a cover contest where you entered a contest, you drew a cover, and that was so popular. Back in those days, man, I feel like it was easier to grow because, for one, you saw the people that you subscribed to, right? Nowadays, when you see the people that you don't subscribe to more than the people that you do subscribe to, and you see them a lot. But as soon as you subscribe to those people, you don't see them no more. It's a strange thing, right? But back then we were growing, and there were art contests, and that was one that I entered. Now, art contests is something that I am I have, it depends on what it is, right? This one felt really legit because I knew some people who were other artists that I heavily respected who were being a part of it. I liked what Niobe, Stranger Comics, who creates Niobe, I liked what they were producing and putting out and things like that. I liked the opportunity. It felt like the highest excitement, right? Felt like the highest excitement in that moment. So I went for it. Now, I did not win the contest. Matter of fact, Joyfish, who I think she watches this stream, I love her art. She won the contest, and deservedly so. It was such a great cover that she created. But as a part of that, they published us all in their graphic novel. So they put out a graphic novel sometime later, and we all got published in it. And so the closest I got to painting a moth was a dragonfly for that. So I did and that might be something I might go back and actually redraw. I think the guidelines was to have Amanda Stanberg be Niobe, and then you just do whatever. So I had drawn a character. I actually have a speed painting and like a story time-esque video of that on here on this channel if you want to watch it and hear about it like in real time, because I think I did it the same year as the contest. But it was all about sort of entering those contests and sort of not making it right, because I didn't win, and going through that and how that was and how you navigate it and whether or not you continue to go, whether or not you get into whatever you're applying for or not. And so I explored all of that, but that was the closest I've come to that kind of work. All right. So this is starting to look really, really good, right? So I want to soften up some of these lines. I want to do that. And we'll zoom out to see. if this is good enough and is looking like it is, then what I will do from here is I'm actually going to probably move this moth onto a file of its own, and I'm going to increase the size of it, and then I will place it into our book cover. So just a reminder of what the book cover looks like so that you guys can see where this is going to go. This is what the book cover is looking like, and instead of having the moth at the top, the moth is going to be at the bottom. And I'm not going to put in the hand-drawn stars that I had planned. I'm actually going to put in these little twinkles around, and then we're done. So I really love this book cover. I really love how it came together, and I feel like that moth along with this paper texture is going to look extremely nice on this particular design. So yeah, so we're going to wrap it up. I think that is the end of this lunar moth. I don't want to over render it, and I'm having to like make sure that I don't do too much with these, because the idea is that I get them done quickly, still be like a nice quality product, but I'm not spending like a ton of time, the same amount of time that I would spend on something that someone actually like hired me for. So I really like the way that this turned out. It looks really, really nice. I appreciate you all for joining me this Sunday afternoon. So if you like this kind of thing, right, where I show you a little bit of a behind the scenes of a different kind of project that is not connected to the tarot deck, right, that is not a painting or anything like that, just kind of take you along the ride for a design and illustration project, let me know. I may do more of these types of things live so that you can kind of see the process of it and get an idea of what it is that I actually do in my business. I would love to share that as well. So without further ado, if you like this kind of live stream, please do me a huge favor and hit the like button. I really appreciate that, and I'm so happy to have you here. Shout out to TN Lady and Black Zetsu for stopping by in the chat. Super happy to have you. Right, so without further ado, I hope you guys have a happy, creative, and prosperous week. Peace.